my name is Arossa and I'm the Career Development Director with WIXI this year, and I just wanted to provide some of my tips and tricks and advice moving forward with the conference in 2026. Quick disclaimer, all of these pieces of advice, wisdom, tips are my personal opinions or the opinions of the people who attended the conference, and everyone's experiences differs from person to person, so just keep that in mind as you are listening along. If you're unfamiliar with what Grace Hopper is, Grace Hopper, I'm going to keep it abbreviated as GHC, is a computer science conference for women. Computer science can realm in data science and also computer engineering as well. However, the main focus is those who are looking for software engineering internships or full-time opportunities. One of the big questions I get is, who should go to this conference? Is this something that I should go to as a freshman, as a senior, as a sophomore, as someone looking for a full-time opportunity? And in my opinion, the best time to attend a Grace Hopper conference, if you are looking for an internship specifically, is in your junior year. You've taken a lot of the classes that are already required, for example, data structures and algorithms, or you're in operating systems, and these are things that recruiters are looking for at the event to see if they want to hire you for an internship. If you're looking for a full-time position, a lot of my friends and people that I talked to at the event, they found it difficult to find opportunities for full-time roles, so just keep that in mind. And as Grace Hopper improves year to year, this might change, but this was just the experience in 2025. If you are a freshman or sophomore looking to attend Grace Hopper, I would have some idea of what the event is like by watching videos like this or attending WIXI conference events to figure out if this is something that's right for you. Because at the end of the day, this is very expensive, and if you really want to maximize your time, there's a couple things that you should try to do before the conference to have the best opportunity and chance at landing an internship or at least an interview with the company that you're interested in. Pre-conference prep. So, what should you do 2 to 4 weeks prior to the event? The first thing is to build a target list, right? GHC doesn't actually drop the list until a little bit closer to the event, but what you can do is be proactive and see on their website who are the sponsors for the event this year. Those individuals are more than likely to have a lot of efforts and team members present at the event to recruit for internships or for full-time opportunities. For example, Bank of America was one of the big sponsors for Grace Hopper last year in 2025, and their booth was massive. It was beautiful. They were giving out merchandise, and they had little activities that you could do, whether it be like a little photo booth station, you can make your own playing card, and there's a bunch of recruiters that you could talk to, so you actually had a chance at getting an interview with them. And as a quick note, they were doing on-site interviews. The second thing that you can also do 2 to 4 weeks before is warm up your network. Go on LinkedIn and see if there's anyone who has that GHC in their LinkedIn header or in their bio, or maybe they've attended Grace Hopper before, and connect with them. If you go in my resources, you'll see a whole section on how to actually communicate with people and reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn and what type of messages you should be sending. Specifically with past Grace Hopper alumni, ask them on LinkedIn how their experience was like, what would they recommend doing, and if there's any tips that they have overall for having a successful conference. One big thing I wish I did when I was LinkedIn DMing these recruiters is seeing if they have any one-on-one booth opportunities or one-on-one opportunities to communicate with them, because that will increase your chance of getting an internship or at least being in their good graces when you have that type of one-on-one conversation with the recruiter. I know in the year prior, I believe Snapchat was giving out one-on-one speaking opportunities, and then this year I had an opportunity with Snapchat and they sent out an email to do that. However, their capacity grew to maximum. So just keep that in mind. It might or may not be something to look out for, but it doesn't hurt to ask for the next year. It's just good to be proactive in the process. Number 3, I would definitely tighten your pitch, because when you are speaking to recruiters, you really only have 30 to 45 seconds with them, because there's a huge line of women behind you who are also eager to talk and have already waited in line for hours. So make sure you know what you want, and don't be afraid to be direct with what you're saying. This can also apply during the conference. When you're speaking with recruiters, be direct and tell them exactly what you're looking for, whether it's an internship opportunity for the fall, the summer, the spring, and say what year you're in, as well as what are your top 3 projects that you've worked on that are relevant to the company's mission and or goal. And that's why it's really important when the conference organizers, the We Need to Be organization, drops that company list, you are proactive in matching your mission, your goals, your vision, and what you would like in an internship with the companies that are attending. Number 4, refresh your portfolio, whether that be something online, something that you're going to hand to the recruiters, whatever it may be. It cannot hurt to refresh your digital footprint a little bit and the way that you present yourself online. A lot of times, what I like to tell people at my workshops is that the process of preparing professionally starts from within. You have to have a period of self-reflection of what your interests are, what you would like in an internship, and what you can offer before you actually talk to recruiters. There's a lot of introspection that goes into the whole behavioral interview, technical interview process, because they want to know, can you apply yourself? Do you know yourself? Are you able to identify your strengths and your weaknesses and what you bring to the table? So refreshing your portfolio is a great way to realign with yourself and figure out what are some things you still want to accomplish and what are some things that you really are proud of and want to talk about. When the schedule gets released, you'll see it in your I Need to Be organization portal link that they send out when you register for the conference. Make sure that you look through and see how you want to actually time block your schedule. There's going to be a bunch of different workshops, events, speaker events, book signings. It's going to be very overwhelming, and that's why it's very important that you actually take the time to look through and at least get an idea of something that you would want to attend. I know it's very tempting to say, oh, I'm just going to focus on the recruiter events and only go to visit the booths, but I highly suggest that you attend at least one type of speaker event or book signing or workshop, because these are people from industry that are coming to speak to you about something they are experts in. You can view that as an opportunity to grow or as an opportunity to network. Both are win-wins in my opinion, and if you're there, you might as well utilize all the resources and amenities that Grace Hopper has to provide for you. 6, be findable on LinkedIn. What I like to do is I put in my LinkedIn header GHC hashtag 2025, right? Or for whatever year that you're attending, just so that if there's recruiters that are looking for you, it's easier to find you and also connect with other attendees. On that same note, see if there's any LinkedIn groups you can join on Grace Hopper who can also connect you to the right place. On that same note, check to see if there's some sort of Discord server that's being created for Grace Hopper specifically that has pre-invite links and more information about the events that are occurring. I wish I knew this before I attended, that there was even a Discord and people were sharing invite-only links in that Discord. So be on the lookout for that. I got access to that link by looking at one of our old Wixie members, Tina Chi. She had dropped on her Instagram that there was some sort of Discord, and I went and I asked her for the link and for access inside, and she kindly let me in. So you really just have to be on it, networking within the Wixie community, as well as kind of being vigilant online with what is happening. And number 7, start at least thinking about and making a list of things that you want to pack. I watched this TED Talk a little bit ago about how procrastinators, they got the right idea, because if you're at least having the idea in your mind and you're thinking about it and you're visualizing it throughout the day, your mind is already processing the task, and when you actually get to do it, it becomes a lot faster. So I highly recommend that you are like at least thinking about how to pack, what are some things that you need to pack, as well as noting that down. In terms of shoes that I would bring, something comfortable. Please bring something comfortable. Unless you're very comfortable in heels and you can walk for that in hours, go at it. But I know for me, I brought my Anuska Tigers, right here, and they were amazing. They got me through more than 5+ hours of standing at a time, and my feet were amazing. So if you're looking to wear heels, just prepare in advance. I'm a heel girl myself, but this time I had to let the flats win the battle here because I knew I was going to be standing a really long time. One thing I didn't think about when preparing what to wear is think about if you're invited to a company's after hours reception event, what would you want to wear there? I wasn't sure when I first went, so I kind of wore a nice pair of jeans and a more professional-esque looking top, but I definitely would prepare for what to wear there. When I went to these different reception events, it was not as formal as you would think. It was a lot of nice jeans, nice top, nice shoes. So no need to overthink it, but also just keep in mind to bring a couple of outfits for those types of events. One of my favorite pieces of advice that Elle Strauss, her LinkedIn's right here, she shared when she was speaking at our conference event was wear something to stand out, right? There's everyone wearing blazers and professional gear. What is something that you can wear to stand out? I remember she said she had pink shoes on and everyone was asking her, oh my gosh, where are your shoes from? Let's have a conversation. And that's how she strikes up a conversation with a recruiter. So maybe you can wear something purple, maybe a little purple pin, purple bracelet, purple ring, whatever it may be. See if there's something that you can do to stand out. On that same note, I guess number 8 as well would be follow social media. See if there's anything happening related to GHC on social media, whether that be on YouTube, on the Attendee organization portal, Twitter, which is now called X, LinkedIn, whatever it may be, Instagram. I got a lot of good information about GHC through Instagram as well. Just use the hashtag GHC on these different platforms to see what people are saying and what information they could offer. Another really good social media resource was on Slack. It was with Rewriting the Code. Their community is amazing. If you join their Slack channel and Slack community, you have access to a bunch of their great resources for GHC, so I definitely recommend joining that. Number 9 is apply to these companies early. As soon as that list drops, go through each company that you're interested in and visit their career portal, whatever it may be, and apply to their internships. If you contact a recruiter or somehow the recruiter connects with you and asks if you're attending Grace Hopper, your chances of getting an on-site interview increase exponentially in comparison to just meeting them there because you've already completed that initial screening for your resume or perhaps a code signal or some sort of coding assessment beforehand. So now you can actually interview in person. That pretty much expedites your process. That is definitely something I wish I knew beforehand. Really important too that if you get past that initial resume screening and maybe they send you some sort of code signal or whatever, you actually do it before the conference so then they can move on with your resume. Really wish I knew that one. There's a lot of people and attendees that I was talking to that mentioned that they applied online before the conference but also did the code signal whatever before entering as well, so then when they went and spoke with the recruiter, they can mention, hey, I already applied online, I did the code signal, what can we do next? Big tip on that one. In the resource guide that I have linked in the bio, I have a bunch of different reflections from past attendees that I looked through and I wanted to get more of an idea of what the conference was like as someone who's never gone before, and I highly recommend that you read those articles as well. They're quick reads, they're nothing crazy, but they're very helpful in understanding what that environment is going to be like. I also recommend that you read our resources with the past WIXI members who have attended the conference. They are open to being contacted, so feel free to LinkedIn, DM them, but also they have a pretty good idea of what they wish they would have done before going into the event. So definitely check out that link in the bio. In terms of kind of what do you want to say to LinkedIn recruiters, Our resources packet has a bunch of sample prompts that you could use. One thing that you can send to a past attendee, for example, that's in the resource document is, "Hi," then you put your name. "I saw you attended Grace Hopper last year. I'd love any advice for making the most of it as a first-time attendee. Your journey at the company or the school sounds really inspiring." So I'm just reading right off that resource packet that I highly recommend that you look into. I recommend that you don't need more than 10 copies of resumes because everything is digital. So make sure that you have a digital format of your resume. I remember when I was at the Bank of America event, they asked for my resume. I didn't have it that day. So I asked them if I could show them my digital one, and it was totally fine. A lot of times when you're actually signing in with the QR code that for the different booths and companies, they ask for your digital resume. So just keep that in mind. Again, it's always good to have a physical copy in case you're looking for feedback from a recruiter. Before I get into any of my tips for what to do during the conference, I kind of wanted to walk through my conference experience in a more descriptive way because I wish somebody did this for me, and anytime I asked, it wasn't really a clear answer. So here was. So I'm coming from Florida, and the conference in 2025 was in Chicago, so I had to purchase a plane ticket to the O'Hare Airport, and from there, I took an Uber to my hotel. I highly recommend that you also buy a hotel room near the conference center so it is very walkable. I mean, I remember sometimes I got up a little bit later in the morning and I wanted to make sure I got in line early so I could talk to some of the companies, and it was very simple to do. And if I ever forgot anything like my resume book, or maybe I need a different pair of shoes or socks, I could quickly just walk over and walk back. So highly recommend that you do that. I remember that one day before the conference actually started, I had to go ahead and register for my badge and get all the conference gear to make sure I'm able to enter. I believe there were different days that you could pick up your badge, and I just picked the day before. On that same day when I was picking up my badge, I wanted to scope out the area a little bit, so I felt less overwhelmed day of the conference to just see where things were located, and I wanted to become a little bit more acquainted with the different signage around the conference, and that helped me feel a little bit less anxious the next day. One of the questions I get is, what were the lines like? Was it long? Was it worth it? Etc., etc. So I'm first going to preface this with how they did it, or how they organized the conference this year. This year, they had different color group sections. So for example, yellow, pink, blue, based on maybe if you won a scholarship, or you're with a specific organization, or perhaps you paid a little bit more, right? Based on those criteria, you're categorized into a group, and then you have to line up outside where all the booths are located. I was in the yellow group, and there was also a blue group, and there was a pink group. From my understanding, the pink group had the access to the exposition and the booths the entire time. The blue group and the yellow group, they split up their times in the morning and the afternoon for about, I believe, 3 hours each day. And I remember showing up the first day, I stood in the line maybe 2 hours early. Looking back, I would recommend that still for the first day. I think it helps me a lot, relieve a lot of my jitters, talking to the other women in line, hearing their stories, and getting to know everyone. Gave me a lot of perspective about what to expect, and it helps me a lot also mentally prepare for the amount of people that I was about to talk to. So I would recommend it for the first days. The subsequent days, I realized that even if I waited in the line a little bit earlier, pretty much the line management was okay. When I was talking to the different companies, maybe it was max an hour. And that was maybe for only 1 or 2 companies that were like Audible or something of that sort. Overall, it wasn't that bad because the recruiter to people standing in line ratio was pretty okay. So I think they did a great job with line management this year. If you're looking to speak to a company specifically, and you're very keen on going to see them, maybe it is beneficial for you to wait in the line earlier just so you're at the beginning of that list. During the conference, there's also these booths for the interviews. These would be invite only. The company would communicate with you in some form or another if you were going to be invited to this event to have an on-site interview. And what they were like, it depends company to company, but I can talk about my experience here, is almost like a preliminary stage. Do you know the fundamentals? Are you interested in the company? Do you know what the company is like? Again, I really want to emphasize that is company to company basis how they conduct interviews, but a lot of them are just kind of seeing that fundamental first stage. A lot of people like to describe it to me as like an expediting of your application to see if they like to move on with you to another round, whether that be technical or behavioral. For example, with Bank of America, there were 2 rounds. The first round was actually in the booth itself when you were talking with the recruiters, and then the second round was then again in the booth but in a different line talking to another recruiter, and they looked through your resume, and then you actually got scheduled for an interview. That third round was a behavioral X technical interview in the actual on-site interview booth about whatever role that you applied for. I'm not saying that's going to be the experience for every company. Bank of America is just a big sponsor of Grace Hopper, so it's clear that they put a lot of time and effort in how they were recruiting and in their organization in the interview process. One quick tip that I wish I knew is that the interviews are often scheduled towards the end of the conference, which means if you're looking to interview with a company, you need to have spoken with them and made a good impression and gotten the verbal, okay, we want you to interview with us on site, way in advance of the conference. And this goes back to my point earlier about being direct, saying, hey, do you guys have any on-site interviews occurring at this conference? Do you have anyone that I could talk to progress forward my application to the next stage? Be as direct as possible because they're speaking to thousands of people every day, and it's only in your benefit if you know exactly what you want and you ask whomever to get to the goal. I cannot emphasize this enough. My biggest tip for just talking with recruiters in general is to be direct and not take yourself so seriously. There's quite a nice line between knowing what you want and being aggressive, but also being someone that's interesting and personable too. These recruiters, again, have spoken with people for hours long, and they're meeting thousands of people every day, every hour, right? So just keep that in mind. Something that's helpful for me, what I tell everyone at my workshops, is to flip the other hat around. What are some things as a recruiter that I might look for and I might want to engage with a candidate on if they were talking about something interesting, maybe their hobbies, maybe how their hobbies has connected to why they want to be in tech or a project that they've done. These are all just important things to think about when you are actually speaking with a recruiter. It doesn't need to be so rigid with your pitch. It just needs to flow naturally and make sense to you and explain why you're here at this moment talking to this recruiter and why their company mission shares a mission and aligns with yours. With that in mind, I went down my list of top companies to speak to, and I was very direct and clear, and I said, hi, my name is Arossa. I'm a junior at the University of Florida. I'm looking for a summer internship with the intersection of networking, cybersecurity, and software engineering, and went on from there. A lot of people like to have elevator pitches. I just kind of like to vibe with the company that I'm at, the recruiter that I'm talking to, and try to find some sort of common point of interest from there. From that experience, there was also some company after party invite situations happening, which again, you really want to be active those first couple days in the conference, full social battery, full speaking mode, so you can get invited to these events. This is definitely something that you would want to ask a recruiter or whoever's at the booth. Hey, are you guys having a reception event after? I would love to attend and meet more of your team. I'm really interested in your company. Something as simple as that, just to see if there's even anything happening. Always good to ask around. This you can always ask around too with your other members or team of women that you're attending with. One question that I had was, what do you do when you're talking with these recruiters? What do you do after? Well, the moment I finish a conversation with a recruiter, so I wait till I'm out of their line of view, I take out my phone or my little notepad and I write some quick notes on their name, something that we talked about, anything that will basically jog their and my memory about our interaction. So when I DM them later on LinkedIn or I reach out with an email, we are able to have some sort of common point of interest about things that we talked about and hopefully keep that foot in the door in that long-lasting relationship and connection for the future. One quick thing also about during the conference is do not be afraid to ask or share your LinkedIn with anyone. Of course, with consideration to your safety. I felt a little bit nervous at first when I was connecting with all these people. One story I like to share about the importance of A, not being afraid to connect with people, but also B, be open to all these types of new experiences that you might have not been exposed to before, is this story right here. So basically I was heading to the Vanguard reception event and I got an Uber share for the first time. I was really nervous. I wasn't really sure who was going to be in this car with me, but it happened to be two women. And they introduced themselves, and I thought that was very sweet of them to introduce themselves to me. And we were later in that car and talking, and I realized they were two employees at Audible and Amazon. I thought that was so cool that I got to hear and have that one-on-one conversation with them for maybe 20-30 minutes about their work, about why they chose their career, and I got to connect with them later on LinkedIn. I had a follow-up conversation with them after that. It was really cool. I mean, just always be open to having new experiences and expecting the unexpected. During the conference, so important, please get sleep. You need to sleep. You're talking to basically a million gazillion people every single day. I don't think I would have been able to function if I wasn't very strict with myself on my sleep regimen. I wanted to show up for every person that I was meeting and be 100% attentive to the conversation with the recruiter or with the attendees that I was speaking with or workshops that I was attending. So please be present in the moment and sleep. Nothing is worth more than your sleep. Sleep, eat. Sleep and eat. Sleep and eat. Yep. Sleep and eat. During the conference, one bit of advice that I got from Tina as well when she attended my control conference workshop was to write down the names of everyone that you are speaking with, whether it be a recruiter, some worker from the company, some attendee, whoever it may be, write down their name because you never know how you might want to connect with them in the future, and it's always good to have like a contact book of sorts of people that you meet at a different event. Another experience that I had to further push your idea of being open to new experiences is don't just talk to your list of companies. There might be a company you haven't heard of before or a company that's not really in your domain of interest that you would still 100% find benefit with actually communicating them on. What ended up happening the last day when I was in the conference was I talked to a couple of companies, never heard of them before, but they're really cool and didn't really have a line at all. I wanted to talk to them and hear what they had to do, and I shared my resume with them. They were often the individuals that were most enthusiastic about reviewing our different resumes, so I thought it was great. They provided some amazing feedback. I heard back from a company about a week later, unexpectedly, and I went through their interview process, and I really enjoyed how the company was conducting the interviews, and I really appreciated the company's missions, and I ended up getting an offer with them. Though I didn't accept it, it just comes to show that if you're open to new experiences, talking to new people, broadening your perspective of what an internship could look like or full-time position could look like for you, Grace Hopper is a great place where you can expand your horizons and see a little bit further past where you might have seen yourself. As you can see, the sun is creeping in. Go Florida. But what to do after the conference, right? After the conference, the most important thing is you need to remind yourself that if your recruiter does not respond immediately, they are in peak conference season communicating with a bunch of different candidates, and you need to be patient. That doesn't mean don't send out your message, don't send out your follow-up, just be patient in general. Have a little bit of empathy for what they're going through as well, because they just spoke with a bunch of people and need a minute to decompress and compile all of their notes about the various individuals that they'd like to reach out to. This is why it was so important that you take notes from earlier about your interactions with these different people, so then when you send up different follow-up emails, you're actually able to talk about something that makes sense to them. And that pretty much wraps up everything that I have to say about the Grace Hopper conference in my experience for the 2025 year. Anything updated in the future will be located in that link below for Grace Hopper resources. Highly recommend that you look at it, you read it, you contact those people, and hear their stories and what they have to say. I'm always a resource available to you. You can find me on LinkedIn, send me an email, whatever it may be. I will more than likely respond within a good amount of time. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful.